Welcome to Retirement Solutions Group podcast. And today my guest is Jennifer Sigman. She's one of our trusted advisors here at Retirement Solutions Group. She's the founder of Sigmund Family Agency, and she brings over 30 years of leadership and service experience to her work in financial planning. She specializes in helping individuals and families protect what matters most through retirement income planning, pension decisions, insurance, and legacy preparation. Her approach is simple. Listen first, guide second, and treat every client like family. Jennifer, thanks for being on the show today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right, well, let's get into it. Today's, what's going on in the economy today and what's on the minds of retirees and pre-retirees. It depends on what news and cycle they're watching, right? But what have you heard? I'll bring something up if you don't already have some conversations in mind, but what have you been hearing? What are you tuned into when it comes to what's on the minds for concerns for our demographic there?
I think a lot of it is what they're going to have for retirement, where their money is. I know locally for us here where I'm at, we have a huge plant shutting down, leaving lots and lots of people, out of work. And they're all scrambling to try to figure out, not only getting new jobs, but what does that do for their retirement? So, it's like, okay, they can't leave it there because it's not going to really grow. So rolling over, rolling it over to, something else that's going to grow that they can keep contributing to. A lot of people are worried as to whether or not they're going to have enough money to retire. What's going to happen? They don't know what that picture looks like. People are working longer than, when we were younger, it was always like a certain age, everybody was retiring, and now you're hearing people working longer and longer. Hospitality industry that I came from, I know in the management office that I was in, there was, my director was 76 and the president of the company was 80, and they're still working full time 5 days a week. Now, they would be able to retire. But, I think that's just the fear of everybody. And you just see people working longer. That retirement age isn't as early as it used to be.
Mm-hmm. So what, okay, so let's say somebody is, what's the age you consider that comes to mind if you had to pick one age that somebody's in that decision process of, about to retire from the career that they had? What age comes to mind for you?
I think they really start thinking about it maybe like late 50s, early 60s. They start really, it starts really coming to thought to them, like, okay, when can I retire? I think those numbers they're at that age to where it's close enough, and it's a true like worry, and it's there for them to be trying to think about. It's like, okay, where are we at?
Sure.
For some, they're sitting in a good spot. For some, it may be too late to try to figure out where they're going. But I think that's usually because you're getting closer to that age is usually when they start thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay. So somebody who's like late 50s, early 60s, and they've been probably in their career for a couple of decades at least. And they have the frame potentially of their parents. When my dad was this age, he was already retired, or he worked another 10 years, right? But I'm thinking if somebody's starting to think about it, they might have the frame that where they came from, the family of origin, and kind of seeing the model of their parents. They're starting to think, okay, where was my parents at this age, and where am I? And they start to compare that, right? So are you saying that people in this generation are retiring much later on average than their parents did from your previous thought?
That's what I'm seeing. And I think a lot of that is the cost now. I mean, inflation compared to where it was. They might not have had the education, the financial literacy. They don't talk about it in schools. If they don't talk about it in schools, if they don't talk about it in families, like I don't remember my family really talking about retirement and saving in retirement, and to my grandparents and my parents and stuff like that. So if you're not hearing about it in school, if you're not hearing about it from your families, where are you picking this information up at? So it's kind of, getting that education out there. For me, I've learned a lot of it through the hospitality industry that I was in, putting in for my retirement and stuff in there, but didn't really know that much about it. So I had to rely on my managers and stuff like that to guide me. So, but you're kind of listening to them and kind of figuring out that information, but do they have your best interest at heart, or do they have their best interest at heart? So sure. It's somewhere in there they have to find that education to be able to ask the questions, because otherwise they're just kind of going through the motions, but they might not know how to actually do it.
Right. So they might have the frame of their parents. They might be getting some advice from managers or HR, but let's say they're in this process of like, okay, well, I'm at an age where I can start. Maybe I'm an early retirer, or maybe I'm going to be looking at another 10, 15 years. They're at a decision point there. So for somebody in that world, what are the things that they need to think through as far as deciding that question? I know without looking at their particular portfolio, it's kind of hard to make a perfect recommendation, but some things that maybe are more often than not things to look at. So they maybe could retire at early at their age now, but they consider 10 or 15 years more, like comparing that. What would be the things you would advise them to look at?
I think it's going to be mainly having that conversation with them, really asking them questions, really getting to know who they are. Are they a risk taker? Are they going to be comfortable with their money more in an aggressive area that you have the potential for a faster growth, but you also have that potential for a loss? Or are they more comfortable by having the money in where it's going to grow, but it's not going to grow as fast, but at least their money is safe? So it's going to be that conversation with them and see how they are. And they may be somebody that's very conservative and wants their money to be safe, a growth, but no loss. Or you may have somebody that is all risk and yes, get it in there because I want my money to grow because I want to have the money. Or you may have somebody that let's put some in the growth and some where we're safe. So they might be more of a hybrid, but you're not going to know that without having those conversations with them to know how they are, because you yourself can't tell them where to put the money. You can give them suggestions, but it's up to them and how comfortable they are.
Yeah. So there's a lot of questions, a lot of things to consider. What are the implications, though, that could like on a monthly income, retirement income, or on a length of time that I can, not outlive my money? Have you seen scenarios of like, are we talking about a few $100s difference? Like if I decide to retire today with what I have, or I work another 10 or 15 years and then retire, if everything else is the same on my income and the job, and it's just a question of timing, are we talking about hundreds of dollars a month in retirement income difference, or tens of thousands? And then like the length of time, like what have you seen?
Well, again, it's going to depend on where their money's at and how they have their money set up. Do they have their money set up to where they are getting an income, taking an income from their retirement funds on top of that, but it's still growing? Where is like their retirement for their Social Security, for all of that. I mean, it really depends on what they have and where they're at.
Let's just say it's a 401k that that they're contributing a you know, like say 3% of their income, getting company match 3%. Like, and obviously not taking anything yet, but yeah, once they retire, they would have to rely all on that money. Like that's their all in. They're all relying on that 401k. Yeah, what do you think there?
For there, I would kind of, have the conversation with them, kind of gear them more toward rolling that 401k over to like a Roth or something like that, so that they're not paying those taxes. Like they'll pay the taxes up front, but they won't be paying those taxes during their retirement age when they're not having the income to be able to offset that. Because that paying the taxes on it whenever you're retiring, of course, then you're getting less. So if it was somebody that just had 401k, I would probably talk to them about rolling to be able to get that into a more tax-free income for retirement, rather than paying taxes on it during retirement.
Sure. Yeah, and obviously, we had a conversation before the podcast that taxes can make a huge difference on that retirement income and the longevity of that retirement plan. So yeah, I guess.
Unfortunately, we don't know what our tax brackets are going to be when we retire, especially if you're looking 10, 15 years, 20 years down the road. We don't know what taxes are going to be at that time frame versus now. So.
Yeah, and I guess it's not just like a simple answer. It's a very unique individual process. And kind of wrapping towards the end of the show here, we do have, if you're listening or watching, and you're thinking, gosh, there are a lot of questions I need to be asking myself. That's what our masterretirement.today, our program, Mastering Retirement, is all about. It's an educational program where you can read up, you can go through the workbook. It will ask you all these questions, go through worksheets. You'll get really educated, self-educated on all of this. And then we have advisors like Jennifer on standby, ready to go through that with you if you ever have a question. So go to masterretirement.today and find those resources. For just a low cost of $27, you're basically getting a book, workbook, online resources, a whole entire course that'll walk you through like all these questions that Jennifer's, asking. And then, like I said, you have Jennifer there, ready, standing by to help you if you're like, okay, this one's a challenging question. I don't know if I can answer this myself. That's what we do here at Retirement Solutions Group. So with that, I'm wrapping up. But Jennifer, I wanted to just have you, last word, anything else that, parting words or words of wisdom or, advice for anybody listening today.
Just education, getting that education for that financial literacy. Don't be afraid to ask questions. No question is a stupid question. Ask the questions and see, because ultimately all of us want to make sure that you have the lifestyle that you want, and that you have the money that is going to be there to be able to give you the lifestyle that you want whenever you do retire.
Amen. Love it. All right. Well, thanks so much for being my guest today, Jennifer. And like I said, if you're listening and you want more help with this stuff and you want more information and answer the questions that are on your mind, go to masterretirement.today. All right, that's a wrap.
All right.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Nope. I think I'm good. Right. I will reach out to these two that I was asking you about and go from there and try to find out what webinar she's talking about.
Yeah, if you do find something that, let us know. But hopefully it'll just turn into a conversation where she'll be like, okay, cool, you can help me. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. So let me know.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Jennifer. See you next week.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.